We are live at Studio B. This is your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I'm Spencer Linton alongside Jerem Jordan. It's time to welcome in BYU legacy basketball player and a man whose voice we have grown to love so much over the years as the BYU Basketball radio analyst. He is Mark Durrant. Mark, welcome back to BYUSN on a beautiful day. I hope that at some point you're out on the links swinging a golf club.
Always on the golf course. That's my other life besides BYU basketball. My daughter Stratton plays, and for Bingham High, they're going to state next week. We're excited about that. So anyway, it's a good life. Usually though, guys, I am just playing golf. I'm not talking a lot about basketball, but this has been a crazy couple months here to talk about BYU sports, and so it's one of those things, I guess.
Indeed it is. And the conversation on the golf course or off it, certainly, as you mentioned, has centered around BYU basketball specifically because of all of the changes. Notably, and most recently, Noah Waterman enters the transfer portal. So let's start there, Mark. What type of a loss would this be for BYU if he decides to find greener pastures and does not come back to BYU?
Well, I love Noah Waterman, and I was just so impressed how he improved from his first year to last year. And I think he's a difference maker on the floor. Now, sometimes his stat line might not be the most impressive, but when you have a 6'10", 6'11" guy that can guard the perimeter and shoot the three and stretch the defense, and then he was a great rebounder last year. I mean, you notice when he's not on the floor. And so I think that was personally sad for me because I love Noah. He's got a great story, and I think was enjoying his time at BYU. But that's the world we live in, that young men need to explore certain options. And he gave a lot to BYU while he was here. My hope is he'll come back, but wherever he goes, I love Noah Waterman. I'll always be a fan and I'll always be cheering for him as a person. But man, I expected him to make another jump this year and even be even better and shoot better and be more aggressive and better rebounder. And there's no reason to think he wouldn't do that. So I think it's a significant loss for BYU to have him go into the portal.
There are 8 players currently on the roster, certainly 2 coming in Brody Kozlowski, which was a huge get, and Keba Keita from Utah, who could be the starting center. He'll battle it out with Foose. Those 2 dudes from Mali can figure it out, which will be fun. What's your priority as BYU assesses 5 open scholarships right now?
Yeah, well, I think you need more size. I mean, that Cato signing was just magnificent for me. I really like him. I mean, watching that Utah game this year, obviously Carlson, great scorer and big and talented, but talk about difference makers. When Cable was in the game, it changed the game, and he was just a force inside and so athletic. He reminded me of Kate up at Utah State, just so super athletic. And BYU fans are just going to just be drooling when they see just how athletic he is and what a force he can be. So I love that, but I still think you need some more size to compete in the Big 12, give you some depth there. Obviously, you can never have enough shooters, especially if Noah Waterman's leaving, perimeter guys, but I mean, you've got a really nice core. That's the nice thing. You've got a really, really good core, and now you can just try to add pieces to that and supplement that. So Coach Young's done a heck of a job, bringing back that great core that I think will get better and better. Like we saw, again, a lot of those guys really improved. Dallin and Richie from their freshman year to sophomore year, we're going to see another improvement. So you've got guys that are getting older in the system that have played together, that are getting better. And then you add in some guys, obviously, maybe some kind of backup. Dawson Baker's health is always questionable, so maybe another backup for Dallin at the point would be nice, just to spell him, because he carried a heavy load last year. But, I mean, at this point, you're just kind of trying to find the right fit, and it's not even about position. Let's just bring in the best players we can to add some depth all around. But that core is really nice for BYU.
Mark Durrant is on BYU Sports Nation. With that core in place, led by Dallin Hall and Richie Saunders, Trevin Nell, Foose, and others, Mark, what are realistic expectations for Kevin Young in his first year as a head coach at the collegiate level, knowing that he's going to add some more key pieces?
Well, first of all, I'm looking at myself in the camera, and I got this, I'm bald, and I got this halo with the light. And I mean, it's like dark, and I look at Spencer and Jerem, and they're just like young and beautiful. And I got to come into studio one of these times and get some makeup, and because this is not being fair to me, because I'm really handsome, I promise. Listen, I think Kevin Young has been terrific in what he's able to do, and I just like the excitement that he's brought, because I was on a month ago or whenever it was when he got hired. The announcement came. I can't wait to see what happens on today's show, because that was pretty exciting. I was on with you guys when that happened. Mm-hmm. But I think he's done a terrific job, and I think he's got a unique approach, and he's very different from Mark Pope in personality, and and I love Mark Pope, but it's almost refreshing. He's just, he's not putting on I'm not saying Mark Pope put on a show. I love Mark Pope. He's the best, but he's just a very exuberant personality.
Yes.
And I think Kevin Young is just like, this is how it is, guys. And anyway, it's always different personalities are good. And maybe this is a nice change for the program to have Kevin Young come in, and he's got great connections. And I think he connects well with the young men, and he's straightforward with them. And I think is a great basketball mind, and will incorporate those guys like Foose and Richie and Dallin. Those guys, listen, I personally know kind of what some of those guys left on the table to come back to BYU. And it's significant. And it means a lot to me that they would do that. And it shows how much they believe in Kevin Young and the program and wanting to be at BYU. And so I like the direction Kevin Young's going. He's made some really nice hires in the coaching, terrific hires. I love Chris Burgess. Can't wait to get to know some of the other coaches. And so there's a lot to be excited for BYU fans as we move forward. Now, the most popular coach is always the coach that just got hired, right? So we'll see how it goes in the future. And hopefully we talk again this time next year, he'll be as popular, because BYU will have had a great year. But so far, really, really nice job from Coach Young.
Yesterday on the NBA draft and combine coverage, Woj said that Kevin Young feels like he can win big in Provo. What would winning big look like to you?
Well, it's crazy to think, but I think winning big means competing for a Big 12 championship, being in the top 4 or 5 every year, being in the conversation, having a chance to win a conference title, doing well in the conference tournament, getting a 1 through 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. That's kind of the characteristic of great programs, right? The Gonzagas, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, they're always at the top of their conference, really good conferences. They're always getting a nice seed. They're winning games in the NCAA tournament. And I think that last thing is probably the most important for BYU fans, right? Obviously, now we're almost taking for granted that we're going to get in the tournament. That's great to be able to take something like that for granted. That's not necessarily true, but now there's an expectation. But now winning games in the tournament, I think that's what really makes great programs. Again, Gonzaga, they not only get to the tournament, they win games in the tournament. And I think that's what marks a great program, is continued success, winning games in the tournament, top of their conference, getting high seeds, and then success breeds success, right? It's a snowball effect. And when you're a successful program, people want to be a part of that. And you do better in the NIL, you do better in the transfer portal, because people want to, wherever they go, they want to be going to a place that they know is going to win games, is going to be in the NCAA tournament, get a lot of exposure, and that sends guys to the NBA. And I think that's one of the most attractive things about Kevin Young, is that he wants guys that to get guys into the NBA, that type of player, and then to get BYU guys into the NBA, which hasn't been the case really for a long time for BYU. There's obviously been 1 or 2 here and there, but it needs to be a steady stream of professionals coming out of Brigham Young University.
He is a pest collector, he is a lawyer, he is a BYU basketball insider, and he is a man with a halo of sorts on his head right now.
That's the pest?
The collection grows even more. Impressive, Mark. Well, apologies for getting distracted on that, but it's hard not to when you look at that just unbelievable Pez collection you have right there. I do need to ask this. Because of everything that Kevin Young has done, we've talked about all of the good work that he has already put together in a very short amount of time. What would you say is his best acquisition to this point, whether it's a staff member or somebody on the roster or otherwise?
Well, in my view, keeping Dallin and Richie was the biggest thing. They're the heart of the team, along with Foose. And for him to be able to convince those guys when what was being thrown at them and to come back to BYU and to have that legacy and have a chance for greatness with BYU, that took a lot of belief by those kids in Coach Young. The things that may last the longest are, his maybe some of his coaching hires, which he has. I think Chris Burgess is a really impressive man and a great coach, and really good at developing players. So, it'll all have to pan out, like I said, in the future for Coach Young. And a lot of the decisions now can only be judged in a couple of years from now. But I think keeping those players, having them have a belief in him and the system and wanting to stay at BYU when, like I said, it would be hard to turn down what they turned down to be a part of BYU. And me as a fan, just really are impressed by the maturity of those guys and kind of the understanding that there's more to life than money. It's not to say that they're not getting taken care of at BYU. I think BYU is now very competitive along those lines. But I think Richie and Dallin and all of BYU fans are starting to believe in Coach Young with what he's doing and are excited about the future.
Mark, we'll finish with this. Because I know you're a BYU football fan, our question of the day is, what would a bounce-back season qualify, or what would qualify, rather, as a bounce-back season for BYU football after 5-7 a year ago?
I believe in the Cougars, and I believe in Kalani Sitake. He's going to make the right decisions, and he's going to get those guys. Sometimes it's great to be an underdog. I remember coming in my freshman year, we lost Mike Smith. We were picked last in the WAC. We ended up winning the conference. So don't count the Cougars out. Guys will step up. They'll get better. They're going to have a winning record and go bowling. And BYU fans are going to be pleasantly surprised. Bookmark this. Replay it next year when you have me on, because the Cougars are going to be back. They're going to be winning games, and Kalani Sitake is my guy, and he's going to lead the way.
Let's go. Good vibes, positivity. Mark Durrant. Hey, great to talk to you, Mark. We appreciate the time.
Hey, I love you guys. Like I told Jeremy Spencer, my son's getting married, and you're invited next month, brother.
Let's go.
You got to get up here, all right?
Hey, count me in. Thanks,
Party
Mark.
with the Durrants. Always a good time. Thanks, Mark.
That's right. That's right. South Jordan's going to be a happening spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always.
So there are weddings, and then there are wedding parties.
And then there's the Durrant parties.
Yes.
We like a good Durrant party.